there's not much depreciation.
Well,
He has
yeah.
the number in there.
Yeah,
Where?
There's a line item.
it's the doctor writing a prescription with it.
Oh, gosh, do I
It's
have
not
there?
much until you get into the out years.
Yeah, it's supposed to be starting this week. I know I just got the bond and certificate of insurance and things are scheduled.
How did Kentwood Court Bridge go? Did she start it yet on Thursday
No,
this week?
this week.
While they arranged for them to do it.
Part of rain and then coordination with
Straw
bonds
poll.
and certificate of insurance.
She was quite impressive.
Yeah,
I said quite
yeah,
well on this one.
yeah, very impressive.
Thank you for bringing me out to that meeting.
yeah, anytime.
Are you guys going to do the other
He thinks
bridge
so.
this year? or is
Okay,
it-
I think the cameraman is
Then
working,
there's
right?
the other
Those
bridge
lights are
in addition
blinking.
to that.
Just hoping to
Yeah,
come
he's
in
Yeah,
Okay.
he just blinked.
I'd like to call our city council meeting to order and ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I was reminded by a resident who evidently follows our meetings on television that sometimes the audio is not good. So I just want to remind everyone to make sure, even when you turn your head, you're speaking into the microphone. The roll, please.
Seifert,
Here.
Shower,
Here.
McIver. Here. Marquez.
Here.
Kenny,
Here.
Belzak,
Here.
Belkey.
Here.
7 present.
We have a quorum. The next item is the questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Does anyone on the council have any items they'd like to discuss? Then I'd like to open it up to the floor. Anyone in the audience want to address the city council? This is an opportunity to speak on any item, any issue. It doesn't have to be on the agenda this evening. All right, let's move on. Let's move to the approval of the minutes of October 6, 2014. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Belkey, seconded by Alderman Seifert. Any additions or deletions? I think we had one correction during our work session that the clerk has noted. The roll, please.
Belkey,
Aye.
Seifert,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
McIver,
Abstain.
Kenny.
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 abstention. Carries.
Motion carries. The next item is receiving of communications. Any communications to share? I'd just like to thank Crazy Burrito. That was we had a ribbon cutting this week. It used to be El Burrito Loco, and they moved across the street. But it was nice to meet the new owners of that facility. A nice ribbon cutting. Thank you. If there's no other communications, let's move on to the mayor's report. And it's getting to be that time of year again that we have the appointments to our Holiday Home Decorating Committee. And sadly, I have to announce that Jeanette Campo has decided to retire from the committee. So it leaves us with the 3 other current members of the committee. And I'd like to have you consider a motion to approve the reappointment of the members of Elizabeth Hayes, Jim Kaiser, and Jerry Legansky to the Holiday Home Decorating Committee. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman Belzak. Any discussion? I'll leave it up to the 3 of you to decide who's going to take the lead and do the presentations on the night we do that. So, any discussion? The roll, please.
Marquez,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
McIver,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
Seifert,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Please come up and be sworn in. Do they have to be sworn in again? Yes, they do. Okay, come on up here. Elizabeth was on the committee last year. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
then we don't need that.
Okay, we don't have to be, all you have to do is.
We do have to be sworn in.
Okay.
Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jim Kaiser,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the the duties of the Holiday Home Decorating Committee
That's not easy.
according to the best of your ability.
According to the best of our ability.
Congratulations. And then we have renewal cards for you here. No, they're already signed. Thank you.
I think everyone would like to shake your hand and
Yeah, and we look forward to the tour.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having faith in us.
Thank you.
Jim, you do a good job with the photographs. Okay, Elizabeth, thank you.
Somebody's gonna have to master going to the microphone and giving them the story.
Now, is it Jim or Jerry or Elizabeth who's going to take the role, huh?
I think Elizabeth should.
There was another.
Woman getting there.
Huh? Thanks so much.
She's a hard act to follow.
At least we won't have to get the booster stool for the microphone.
That's right. I'd like to invite the Chamber President, Clerk Bongiovanni, to come up and give our update.
Good evening. The holiday shopping season is approaching. Remember to shop local, shop Darien. Purchase your Shop Local, Shop Darien preferred card at City Hall for only $5. Excuse me. The following businesses have Shop Local offers: B&R Dentists, Caldwell Corn and Sudgel, Carriage Greens Country Club, Chuck Southern Comforts Cafe, Culver's, Edward Jones, James Burke, First Merchants Bank, the Goddard School, Home Run Inn, Jet Pizza, La Notte Due, Mi Hacienda, Oak Ridge Hobby and Toys, Patio Restaurant, Q Bar and Grill, Sharin's Barefoot Books, The Crazy Burrito, The Fruitful Yield, Wild Orchid, Wilton Store, and Zazzo's Pizza and Catering. Join us for the Darien Immediate Care ribbon cutting ceremony tomorrow at 5 p.m. Darien Immediate Care is located at 8190 South Cass Avenue. Darien Chamber Women in Business is hosting a Cheer Up networking event on Wednesday, October 22nd at Fred Astaire Dance Studio. Appetizers, wine, and lots of networking will be available. Register online at DarienChamber.com. Darien Chamber Women in Business is celebrating Paint the Town Pink in October and providing meals to women in the area going through breast cancer treatment. If you are aware of any woman in need, please call the Chamber office at 630-968-0004. The Indian Prairie Public Library is hosting Lunch and Learn with Reference USA on Tuesday, October 28th at 1 p.m. Register at calendar.ippl.info or call 630-887-8760. Dancing with the Chamber Stars fundraiser will be held on November 14th at Ashton Place. The elegant evening includes open bar all evening long, hors d'oeuvres, general dancing for all, dinner, silent auction, by choice raffle, live professional performances, and dance competition. Thank you to our grand sponsor, Chuck Southern Comforts Cafe, our Foxtrot sponsor, the Wild Orchid Salon, and all of our table sponsors. We've received many beautiful donations for our by choice and silent auction. Celebrity dancers include Chuck Pine from Chuck Southern Comforts Cafe, Gail Sablick from the Wild Orchid Salon, Michael Overman from Michael Overman LTD, Tom Papis from Rose Landscape Design, Karen McCarthy from Power Forward DuPage, Lavon Ches from Carriage Greens Country Club, Dr. Brian Laneville from Laneville Family Chiropractic, Debbie Kalbick from Foundations for Learning, Paul Dugenti from Republic Bank, Ann Brennan from the Darien Women's Club, Desiree Shahata from the Darien Chamber, and Mayor Kathleen Weaver from the City of Darien. The cost is $70 per person. You can also purchase a table of 10. Reservations can be made at DarienChamber.com or call the Chamber office at 630-968-0004. Chuck Pine this afternoon made a video. He's very excited about doing his salsa. Showed me a little footage from his classes, and I think he wants to win this really bad. So we made a video this afternoon at the restaurant, and he's extremely excited. So come out and watch Chuck dance and all the other dancers. Carriage Greens Country Club is excited to announce their Thanksgiving buffet on Thursday, November 27th. Seating times are available at 10 a.m., 12:30, 3 p.m., and 5:30. Price is $28.95 for adults and $11.95 for children. 12 and under are free. If you don't feel like going out or cooking, you can enjoy a delicious turkey dinner with your family at home with the Thanksgiving get to go. Prices start at $129 and up. For more information, call 630-985-3400 or email turkey@carriagegreens.com. Reservations must be made by November 24th. More exciting events at Carriage Greens Country Club include a winter carnival February 7th and 8th. This event will include ice skating, sleigh rides, pony rides, snow sculpture contest, tobogganing, cross-country skiing, and more. For all the future brides in Darien, save the date for the Darien Bridal Extravaganza, which will be held on February 22nd, 2015 at Carriage Greens Country Club. At this time, I have my guest, who is Laura Clark, the store manager from Fruitful Yield, and Sandy Martina, the nutritionist, who is going to come up and talk about the Fruitful Yield.
Okay, so I'm Sandy Martina. I've been a nutritionist for 20 years, working for Fruitfield for 26. And this is Laura Clark, our manager of the Darien Fruitfield. The first Fruitfield opened in 1967 in Elmhurst. And currently there are 12 Fruitfield stores in the Chicago land western suburbs. We are family owned by Richard's family. They also own Now Foods, if you're familiar with that.
What was the name of that?
Now Foods.
Now?
Now, N-O-W,
Okay.
Now Foods, or Now Health Group, if you look at it corporately. And they actually are an international manufacturing company. So a lot of our products are part of, are on our shelves. Well, you'll see the Now label on them. They also not only sell supplements, but they have package different food choices like nuts, seeds, flours. They recently bought a facility so that they could have a gluten-free facility specifically dedicated to people who have that problem where they need to have gluten-free products. They have a mission, and their motto is that they want to have the most excellent products at affordable prices, and they have seemed to accomplish that goal with very sound business practices through the years. Fruitful Yield ourselves, our objective is to give the customer with the best customer service around. We train our staff to be there for our customers, and we educate the staff to be knowledgeable and up to date on new products that are coming into the stores. We strive for the educated staff so that we can assist customers to choose and make right selections. So we go a little over and beyond being overall a smaller store. We do get to have the luxury of being one-on-one and close to our customers. So we try to make it as helpful as we can. Our primary goal is for excellent customer service. I am one of the two nutritionists that will go through all these different 12 stores, training new people so that they'll learn the products in our store, and also to train new products to existing staff members. All in all, our primary goal is that we want to educate our customers also so they can learn to live healthier lives. So it really is, it's a fun environment in our store. I think that the staff themselves, they like helping people, so they like being there. And we do make sure that we maintain the rules of the government so that we are never trying to talk people into a product or talk about any illnesses or things like that. It's always based on structure function as it's, dictated. So people ask, and I do that in training, they ask why the Fruitful Yield is different. Why wouldn't I just go get it? Can't I get it cheaper somewhere, in a big, what they call big box store or something like that? But we strive to provide quality products in our store without fillers, excipients, chemicals, petroleum products, and carcinogens. Our corporate division, we have a merchandising manager that her and myself and at times, and also my boss, part of nutrition education, will look at evaluate products to see if they are, good and going to help people in overall. We don't want to just add something because it's on television or marketed online, especially because we want to make sure that they have a criteria to meet to be on our shelves. And that makes us I feel a grade above. I can tell customers truthfully that you can trust what's on our shelves, because if we don't get certain criteria like proof of insurance or laboratory assays on all the products that they're going to put in the store, they just don't get on our shelves. So sometimes things lag, but that's because we're trying to be very cautious. Now, what is in our shelf? A typical visit to the Fruit for Yield features an array of products that are supplements. First of all, we could have, vitamins, minerals, and herbs, probiotics, digestive enzymes, and the like that help in various ways for like joints and sleep aids and energy, kind of different, a whole array of different areas like that. We also sell organic produce now, and we have packaged foods without artificial colors and flavorings, no high fructose corn syrup, and non-genetically modified products. Darien is also carries a gluten-free line. It's pretty extensive, the gluten-free, both in packaged and frozen goods. And in addition to that, we have regular for customers who can take regular, wheat products or don't have that restriction in our frozen foods. And we have things like we've gotten Alaskan salmon fillets and nitrite-free lunch meat, organic cheeses, and other dairy products in there. We have vegetarian offers and vegan options also. Then on the other side of our store, we have household products. They are like dish detergents, laundry, softeners, cleaning supplies that would be free of certain types of petroleum chemicals, or there's one for dioxin-free type things, free of usually perfumes, because some of our customers are bothered by certain scents and things like that. So we have just a really big gambit. We have organic hair and skin products, again, free from common allergens, free from phytolates and things like that, that people are now looking into, well, maybe we shouldn't have them in our products, and we've been free of them. And we have health and beauty cosmetic type things. We have a whole line of lotions and body washes, soaps, any skincare product. We have some really great ones, and the biggest thing you'll find is you won't find chemicals. So a lot of people feel they live a healthier life. They feel better when they, what you put on your skin ultimately gets in your body. And so it's not like, okay, we've got plastic coating, or something like that. So anyway, we're proud to say we offer the best products at everyday low prices. Most of our products are at least 20 to 35% below regular retail prices. And we even have a coupon booklet monthly where you could have additional savings. We're very happy to be part of the members of the Darien Chamber now, and we do encourage all of you to come visit our store. We're located on 75th, just west of Fairview. Then the phone number for anybody who wants to check how to get there or whatever is 630-969-7614. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Thank you.
and my, the manager of Darien now is going to give you a brochure. It's a little handout card that shows that the Now Tour, that every second Wednesday of the month, anybody, any customer, any of you, anybody can, you have to call for to register, but you can come and tour the Now facility to see what they have there. It's a state-of-the-art manufacturing. It's really awesome to see. And she's going to do that. And they've given us some lip balms from Now that they're going to pass out to you.
Wow.
she'll pass. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Fruitful Yield participates in the Shop Local, Shop Darien campaign, and if you bring your card in, you make an appointment with Laura to take a tour. I highly recommend you going in there because it's amazing. There's so much stuff in there, you have no idea that, would help anybody. So, just call and make an appointment with Laura and show your Shop Local, Shop Darien preferred card.
Claire, I have the Shop Local, Shop Darien card, and does that expire? I don't remember seeing a
No,
date
the
on
new ones, well,
Thank
the,
you.
the,
Thank
the
you.
the
Oops.
old ones expired in July, but the new ones we extended to December 2015, so we could start the program again in January of 2016. So the new ones are on sale upstairs at City Hall for $5.
Thank you.
I think you have a new one.
Do I?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think so. I think I have the one from last year, when
Oh,
you first
okay.
started the program.
Oh, okay. Well, yep, you can buy one upstairs for $5.
Okay.
Thank you.
It comes in handy.
This is
Yeah.
gonna be great because
Comes in very handy. Are these flavored? Oh, I've got vanilla and vanilla.
Pomegranate.
Do you have 2 pomegranates?
No, one.
Okay.
I'll try that one. Go ahead.
Didn't you get 2?
Yeah, but vanilla's fine. I was
Excuse me.
I've been to the one in Elmer's quite a few times.
Oh, it does have a fragrance
No,
to it.
no, just don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Let's move, okay, Claire, you're done? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the city clerk's report.
This evening, we have on the agenda the 2015 Vehicle Sticker Lottery. What I'd like to do is provide a little bit of history before we do the lottery itself. In 1992, the City Council decided to offer the Darien Identification Vehicle Sticker to Darien community organizations through the lottery process. The following organizations were offered the opportunity to participate in the 2015 Vehicle Sticker Lottery, and they included the Darien Historical Society, Darien Rotary Club, Darien Women's Club, Safety Village of Darien, Young at Heart Seniors, Darien Lions Club, Darien Seniors Club, Darien Youth Club, the Active Seniors Club, and Younger Than Ever Seniors. There are 3 provisions that must be followed. The first is the fund for the vehicle sticker donations be used for community-related functions. 2, the winner in 1 year will not be eligible for the lottery for a 2-year period after winning. And 3, the city reserves the right to withdraw this lottery due to budget constraints. The successful lottery winner will be responsible for purchasing identification stickers that will be approved by the mayor and the city clerk, as far as the design is concerned, and offer the same to residents on a donation basis, and it's to be available on January 1st of 2015. The eligible Darien community organizations that expressed an interest in selling the vehicle stickers were the Darien Historical Society and the Darien Rotary Club. And I have a label for each, and I'm going to fold them so that we can randomly pick one to be our vehicle sticker lottery winner.
Pick somebody
Hey,
else.
we have
yeah.
to do this the right way, right? I mean, it's competition. Okay, so I'm going to-
Mix it, really mix it up.
and we'll let the mayor choose
Oh,
one.
don't do this to me.
Well, that's okay. It's over your head. How's that?
It's over my head. Well, you know what? That's not, all right, I went for the lower one.
Okay. And the winner is the Darien Rotary Club. They, the Rotary Club will be receiving a letter as far as what the criteria is, and then they'll be submitting their example for us to approve. I have a couple other things to.
How many, has the Rotary Club won before?
From what I understand, it's been quite a while.
Okay.
Because I don't think they've submitted their name
To
to
be
be
it.
in the lottery, because they have to submit their name. It's not just, we put the names in on our own, so.
Okay.
One of the items that I'd also like to bring up is that early voting began today, October the 20th, and the last day for early voting will be November 1st. The closest location to Darien is in Downers Grove at their Village Hall. And their hours are Monday through Friday from 8:30 till 7:30 p.m., and Saturday from 9 to 5. There are also many other additional locations. You can call City Hall here at 630-852-5000 for an update as far as other locations. The other closest one is Yorktown. But they also have voting on Sunday. So there's a little bit of information that you can obtain through the City Hall. And one other announcement, the City Council will be hosting a goal settings session, and it's scheduled for this coming Wednesday on October the 29th at 6:30 PM, and we'll be meeting in the police department.
That's a week from Wednesday.
Oh, that's right. On October 29th
Yeah.
in the police department. That's all that I have.
Okay, thank you. City Administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor Weaver. A few items. One, the packet for the goal setting is scheduled to be out on Friday, this Friday, so we'll have that out to the council in advance of the meeting. A couple of other items. One, Mayor Weaver had asked me to update the council and the residents on the electrical aggregation program, which has been very successful since that was implemented a couple of years ago and approved by the residents' referendum. I handed out to the council just a couple of pages, one cover memo and one was a graph that was presented by NIMAC, who is our consultants on the aggregation project. And basically, we are seeing the ComEd rate now starting to become competitive with our bid rate. As a matter of fact, for the last couple of months, August, September, October, the ComEd rate was actually a little bit lower than our bid rate. Now, the ComEd rate is an adjustable rate over the next year. There's a portion of that rate that's adjustable. So while the city's aggregation program has a fixed rate, so again, as residents have saved probably in excess of $450 since the program was started, the last couple of months show that the ComEd rate would have been about $5 a month lower. So again, we are continually watching this, but we wanted to let the residents know about the rates, and we'll be putting something out in Direct Connect this Friday, reminding residents of their options to opt out of the aggregation program if they want. Again, the one thing that becomes a little bit complicated is our bid is a fixed rate per kilowatt hour, while ComEd, 2/3 of their rate is fixed, but a small part, again, will be variable, and we won't know that till every month. So I would hate for residents to be opting out of that program currently unless they really understand that the ComEd rate has this component to it. So we'll be, again, putting something out on Direct Connect. Our consultant NIMAC is certainly open for anybody to call and ask questions or answer questions that they might have. Again, when we bid out this rate, we knew that the ComEd rate was going to be lower, or that our rate would be higher than it was previously, because when we bid out 2 years ago, we got such a fantastic rate. But again, as this whole aggregation program now is coming around for a few years, we are seeing that ComEd rate get a bit more competitive. So again, we'll put something out for the residents.
Okay.
Brian,
Yes.
how long was our rate? I mean, did we do 2 years or 3 years?
We
2
did
years, right?
originally, but our current rate now with the second company is a 1-year rate.
That's right, we had 2 years, not 1 year.
Yes, we did
And we-
originally
Had 2.
at a
now we have
2-year.
1.
Yes.
And when does that expire?
That expires in July.
July.
Yes, in July.
And
So-
when would we start looking for pricing for a renewal for that?
Well, what we did this year is we started looking a few months before that, because with the electric commodity, it was fluctuating almost daily.
Right. that's
So
what-
the city council authorized us to basically wait for the rate that our consultant recommended. So it got to the point where we weren't getting anything better, and that was the best rate. So that's about the time frame. It really should be very simple if residents do want to opt out, and I'll lay that out in the Direct Connect. It's a simple contact to the Verde Energy, so that should be fairly simple. But again, I would hate for a resident to jump off and then the ComEd variable rate go up a little bit, and they're saving, and they would miss out on that savings. So we've enjoyed a really good program, and we will continue to. It's just that the competition for the rates are a little bit different than they were. Again, I handed this out tonight, so if any of the aldermen have questions after you read through it too, feel free to give me a call.
Alderman Belke?
Right, for the viewing audience then, since it's easy to go back to the ComEd for these residents that choose to, the problem, I guess, would be if they wanted to go back to the village, then they have that 6-month waiting period?
Well, there's two things in the aggregation law. One, if a Darien resident opts out of our program and goes to ComEd, if they wanted to come back to the Darien program, there's a 6-month wait. But if they wanted to seek out an alternative, like a third provider, you don't have that same 6-month wait. It's only if they opt back into the city's
village.
program. So yeah, that jumping around, that becomes a little more difficult for residents. You know, there are a lot of calls, and then you're watching that commodity every month for a few dollars, and that would be a lot of time. So we'll continue to bid and look for those, but residents do have that option.
Alderman McGivern?
Does that 6 months apply? We would go out for bid again in July, is that what it is?
Well, we would go out.
So how does
sooner.
that 6 months, like if a resident opted out in like March?
It doesn't affect them opting out. We,
Coming back in though.
coming back in.
So how
to
does
the,
it,
to the city's
They
program.
would come into the rate we had at the time they come back in.
but does that 6 months apply
The 6 months.
even if we go out for bid again?
Yeah, the 6 months, it basically, they're saying, I understand your question, Sylvia, actually I have to check that
Right.
in that time period. At this point,
The 6 months
we have,
would, right.
we have some time, but I will check that specifically. It's my understanding, though, to your answer, or to your question, is they can't come back into the Darien program no matter who we have.
Okay.
But that I'll have to verify with our consultant.
Anything?
Okay, the other item I had was just an update. The city council recalls this budget year, we've included money for our website upgrades, and that's on schedule, and that should be done about December 8th. That's a tentative schedule, so we hope to get that out shortly after. And the setup is really a lot of the work there. The actual look of the website's not going to be that much different as in time-wise, but the time is taking for all the links and all those improvements that the city council talked about. And the last item I have was I mentioned to the council during the workshop, we received a request from Jim's Quality Meats in the new Darien Point Center. He is seeking assistance from the city in the form of a grant for $235,000 in order to maintain his business as a strip center. And I know the council's aware, as well as the developer. We at the time, but the developer now has gone to extra lengths to do that development in 2 phases. And he's to the point now where probably in December, I think, Dan, he'll be needing to, have a decision from Jim's if Jim's is going to stay there. And we were surprised to receive this at this late date, because the only information we had was that the meat market and the new owners were talking and had some information together. But again, as we're finding out, the new owners were also waiting for information. So again, we have this today to the council, and how, Mayor, you want to proceed with even discussing this is up to you.
Yeah, I think we can throw it to a committee, the Municipal Services Committee,
Yeah.
or Administrative Finance.
Finance
I
is
don't know
mine.
which one to
Well,
give
I
it to.
think
We toss a coin?
in terms of timing, Joe, the
next week.
committee's meeting next,
Right.
and I don't know if there's going to be a fact finding or if this is going to take long to discuss. Again, that we were surprised at the amount that they were asking for a grant, but we didn't talk. Well, Dan has talked to the owner of the business, but today we talked to the accountant who's representing him, and it was. We had to ask some questions, and it thought maybe there would be a loan involved and some payback, but literally it's a grant. He's just asking for money to keep the business running. We mentioned to the accountant, we did an overview. We told him about an overview, what we did for some of the other businesses that we did give assistance to. As an example, Chuck's, the city council definitely invested in that project with a contemplated payback over a few years. Of new sales tax revenue. What we're seeing here, this really is no new sales tax revenue generated. It's just a matter of if the meat market were to close down, you miss that sales tax, but there might be another business then that would come and pick it up. But again, this came to us, and we want to send it on to the council for some answer. And considering, Joe, your meeting next and the timeliness of this, so the developer can get going, would be probably the best way.
Yeah,
Just a question out of curiosity. If I assume the reason there are 2 locations still up is because Jim chose to remain. So
Yeah,
that,
if he had declined to stay there a long time ago, both buildings would be down, and
what is the, and I realize it's not our property, we're not developing it anymore, but what is the additional cost of tearing down part of a building and leaving what's there versus if they would've just torn down the whole thing?
well, we looked at that early on, and Dan, I don't know if you remember that number?
It's about $20,000.
Okay. Because, I mean, that's a commitment that the developer already made, based on Jim saying, I wanna stay there. Otherwise, that building would've came down.
Yeah, we talked to the developer at least a month ago, and, we told him, hey, if you don't have anything firm from the meat market in terms of a lease, you have to make a decision. The consensus has been, it would be nice to keep the meat market there, but
Right.
obviously there's a cost to that. And at the time when we reminded the new owners, he said, well, we made a commitment to do it, so we're gonna stick to that commitment. Again, at some risk, and the risk is exactly what's happening now. If they don't release, if they don't lease up again, there's certainly an expense to the project. And Dan says 20, and I don't remember, Dan, are you pretty good on that number? I know it was a while ago you looked at that.
Yeah, I know it's just for the mobilization, basically from the contractor. So there might be some other costs if we were to add maybe another $5,000 to $8,000 additional. But that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Okay.
Plus it's timing. I mean, the opportunity to build two buildings now versus one now, with the opportunity with the weather coming, that we have the opportunity, that he has the opportunity to get the other one up in a timely fashion as well. So a lot of things are up in the air with that building there now, or Jim's Meat Market there today.
Alderman Seibert?
What was Jim's paying us for rent?
I believe it was approximately $1,500.
Yeah, I was thinking 12, but 12 to 15, I believe, a month, and
They're showing
21,000.
21,000 a month or a year in rent, and their rent projection is actually going down to 17, 18,000.
well, I could tell you the sheet that they submitted. I should have put a qualifier to that. Dan and I didn't get this till 4 today, so it was really late information. I don't believe it's accurate in terms of their revenue projections. They used a sales tax that's not the correct sales tax. So we didn't really get a good chance to go through this and ask everything, other than some of the questions we were able to about 5 o'clock today.
I mean, I know it's going back to committee, but I wouldn't mind seeing, what terms are they looking at with the developer for a lease, because that certainly could come into play as to, our position. I mean, if, obviously if the rent's going from 1,500 to 3,000 or 4,000, that's one thing, but if it's actually going down, that's a whole other thing.
There's been some consideration from the developer that's being passed on to Jim, of a discounted rent. What those figures are, we'll get that from the developer, but he has shared with us that it is a discounted rate.
I was assuming that with the projections going forward, that's what Jim's Meat was taking into account, that was the reduced rates that the developer was providing to him.
And that's what we have to verify,
Yeah.
but I'm going to presume that at this point, yes.
The rent yard that he was paying was $1,882 a month.
Okay.
Oh,
But, the
With-
other reason with the lease that I wouldn't mind seeing is that, generally if there's a discounted rent involved for a new developer, they're going to have some sort of recapture built in for X amount of years. Certainly for us to recapture $235,000 would take a long time. What is the new landlord looking at as far as a timeline to recapture the money that he's discounting for the rent? I would assume it's at least 5-7 years.
Correct. That is correct, yes.
All right.
We haven't looked at this too in terms of the rental, and I'm just not seeing, I don't know if the common areas are above and beyond the rentals, but again, we got this late today, but there's a number of questions like that certainly we would need to bring to the council. I would say if there's anything specific in advance of the meeting, you can get those to Dan, and we'll lay out our questions for the owner of the business to come with some answers. Again, we talked to him about what Jim's did with collateral, personal collateral, and some recognized payback period. Obviously, there was a lot of due diligence with that, and that was a brand new business coming in a horrible building. But there's definitely more information that we need.
Oh, my gosh, this is, I don't even know if the Municipal Services Committee has enough time to you're gonna have to do a great deal of analysis in these numbers.
Doesn't sound like a week is enough.
Well, I don't know if everything will be ready in a week, but again, with your meeting coming up in a week, at least the ball gets rolling quicker than it might have. If it then it, bleeds into a committee of the whole or something, again, it's a big request that came quick, and
Maybe we could discuss some elements of it that you have prepared by next Monday, and then come back next Wednesday during goal setting and maybe make a
Well,
presentation.
staff is gonna have to develop some alternatives to this.
Correct.
It should
for the
probably- it
committee
probably
to
should be a
look at.
Maybe it should be a committee of the whole.
it's the time, our concern was the timing. We wanted to get this, obviously we handed it out tonight, but we wanted to get this rolling some way to get an idea from the council or an idea a little more in detail from the committee.
What time's our goal setting session start?
So we've got a lot on our goal-setting
Yeah,
agenda.
we cut a couple items
Yeah,
because of
we've
the
cut-
potential
I-
length, but
So I don't think we could add it to it, but let's get the ball rolling with you guys and
Okay.
see and the staff is gonna have to do some work here. I think we're gonna have to do a great deal of discussion with this accountant, to get
well, we'll
get
have to
these
make sure,
numbers.
that they come to the meeting.
Right.
A, I mean,
Exactly.
if they're on an expedited timeframe as they should be, they're gonna have to be face-to-face with the committee and explaining some things.
Okay, all right, let's start there and see what happens.
We'll have to build them into our agenda then next Monday. then.
Correct.
Well,
And part of
then-
the problem is timing, because by the time we have our committee meeting, and if things don't go through, the developer's gonna have to give him his 30-day notice. By the time the 30-day notice is through, he could have the second building going up in as early as January.
Well, he might have to give 30-day notice contingent upon what happens here, but again, if we can get the ball rolling, I think that's the first step.
He's the one that took so long to present this to us. I mean,
Well, that was,
we'll
yeah,
do
that
what
was,
we can do.
that was part of what we wanted to convey to the council. I mean, we have, we sensed that there would be some requests coming from him. Never knew any idea what it would be, if it would be a loan, any of that, but we've been waiting and waiting, and Dan's been,
You've been pressing him.
Yes.
yes,
quite a while.
for a while to get
For
something
probably
back
6
to the
months.
city. And we asked his accountant today if they've even exhausted, just going to the bank, for loans, because a couple $100,000 in the scheme of a new business to a bank, I don't know that that's a lot of money. It's not millions of dollars, but it's our understanding that they haven't gone even through that process, and that's maybe one of the questions the committee's going to have is, similar to when Chuck's came in, he showed us how he exhausted his loan amount, and there was a gap that existed in order for the business to actually open, and the city was able to meet that gap. But here, we haven't even seen the gap.
Well, I mean, that first thing that popped into my mind was, why weren't they seeking a small business loan?
That's-
Why ask for the city and then show a repayment program to the city? Why not take out a 20-year loan or whatever, 15-year loan, 10-year loan, at whatever rate, and borrow the money for the business?
That's one of the questions we posed today to the accountant, and we'll make sure that they come with some kind of answer for that.
Keep in mind, the SBA is not very responsive, so.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
up to
we
6
learned from
months.
Chuck's
Right.
what happened there. Yeah.
Are we, excuse me, are we seeing other businesses calling up, looking for information on leasing space in the new space?
Not directly to the city. The city has had some calls. We've directed them over to the developer. One of the most recent restaurants that we had in there basically fell through, so they did open it up to a larger marketing brokerage company, the developer did. So there is some spaces that have been reserved at this point.
Have you had any inkling? Well, never mind. I'll ask you later. Okay. Any
That's
other
all I had,
questions?
Mayor.
Yeah,
Thanks.
all right. Let's move to, I was thinking more along, Alderman Belke is very good at analyzing numbers, and I thought that, yes, she would be a good asset then in this discussion. Let's move to department head information, questions. We'll start with the police chief.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members, and residents. We'll actually be giving an overview of 2 monthly reports this month, the 8th and the 9th police period. Before we get started, we're in the midst of some administrative transition in the police department, and there's some grammatical and computational errors that you may see. I take full responsibility for those, and I apologize, and those will be corrected by the next publication. So please forgive the oversight of the computational and grammatical errors. What I've done is annotated the summary so that anybody who wants to go to the page where it's taken from, the summary is taken from, you can follow along. First thing we're going to talk about is police personnel, and it'll be on page number 2 for the 8th period. We've completed the police testing process for new police hires. There were 141 applicants and 107 people who actually passed the test. We're about 1/2 of the way through interviews for those folks now. The tabulations from the interviews will be returned to the testing vendor, and a list will be published from that. Our current test remains active. Our current list, I'm sorry, remains active until the 4th of December. After the 4th of December, any new hires or potential new hires will be taken from the new list that's being generated now. What we did differently with the results of that test is we looked at demographics along race, gender, age, academic level achieved, and the sole purpose for that is to refine our recruitment efforts in the future. So we looked at a lot of different things on how people fared on the test. The next page 2 of the 9th period report and page 3 of the 8th period report. Second phase of the sergeant's test was administered, and the resultant list resulted in our school resource officer, Jason Norton, being promoted to sergeant. He's currently in the schools. His promotion certainly creates a vacancy at SRO because of our agreement with Hinsdale South. And so what we've done already is we've interviewed and vetted the 3 potential candidates to replace now Sergeant Norton, and they will be scheduling interviews with the Hinsdale South staff and Sergeant Norton to identify his replacement. And so as soon as that's done, Sergeant Norton will spend a short period of time training that new person so that he can go in and fill the shoes that his vacancy creates. Yes, sir.
One quick question. On the 8th period, on page 2, for the sergeant's testing,
yes,
you
sir.
reference a statutory period?
Yes. It's 3 years.
Is it 3 years?
Yes,
okay.
Sir. Our most recent recruit, Eric Surratt, started training at the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy on the 22nd of September. And we also started interviews. Carol Copta, the administrative assistant, has announced her retirement effective the 9th of January. And we've recently begun interviews for her position as well. The application process remains open. However, we will expect to be ending the submission of applications shortly. We received about 90 applications thus far, and we're in the process of vetting those and beginning the interview process there. Events planning, page 4 and 5 for the 8th period. We've completed the Darien Fest for 2014, and we did some logistical changes. Some of the non-law enforcement functions we split between auxiliaries and Andy Frayne, and the purpose of that was not to take away duties from the police, but to reorganize those duties that were not traditional law enforcement. So directing traffic, providing information, basic security functions as opposed to a law enforcement function. The net result has been there were no incidents of any significance. And if you look at page 4 from the 8th period report, what you'll see is that we've changed by about 45%. We reduced by about 45% the expenditure, the budget expenditure for Darien Fest. In 2011, prior to my arrival, the budget was actually $16,000 for Darien Fest, and we were over by $3,000 on that, and it was $19,000 actually spent on it. And this year, we budgeted, we were actually $4,000 under budget, and we came in around $10,000 for Darien Fest. So we think that, by virtue of the fact that we've reduced the amount of expense and maintained that there were no significant incidents, we think that's a win-win for the city, for the police department, and for our residents. Page 4 of the 8th period, there it shows the call trend, and basically that's important because the call trend, since we've started tracking it, has remained unchanged. Essentially, we've gotten exactly the same breakdown seasonally and throughout the 3-year period. Each month we wind up with about 5 to 600 911 calls. 40% of those calls occur on the day shift, about 45 occur on the afternoon shift. The balance occur on the midnight shift, with about 7% occurring between 3 and 7 in the morning. So that helps us in our allocation of resources and knowing where we should put people and how we should allocate our officers. New school year, pages 3 and 8 of the 8th period. The new school year commenced without incident. We worked extensively with Eisenhower, Lace, and OLOP to ensure that the 75th Street construction did not create a safety hazard. I talked to Mr. Buck, the new principal at Eisenhower, met with him, and he was very pleased with both the police presence, and he also gave high kudos to the construction workers who would cease operation to allow access and egress to the parking lots during admission and dismissal times. On a less pleasant issue, we met with the administration and the teachers from Hinsdale South in preparation of a possible labor dispute. And the purpose of doing something like that is to make sure that everybody understands what the expectation is, so that the school and the teachers understood what the expectation of the police department would be of them and what they could expect from us. It was a very good meeting. All parties were very accommodating, and fortunately, we didn't have to use any of the planning that we put together for that event. Page 2 for the 9th period. We have recently experienced 2 significant crime patterns. One pattern involved auto thefts, stolen vehicles that were recovered in Darien but were stolen elsewhere. We refer to them as foreign steals. We had 7 foreign recoveries. Those were vehicles that were stolen in a different jurisdiction and dropped in someplace here in Darien. We had 5 local steals. That number was originally reported as 5. It was reduced to 4 because one of the individuals who initially reported their car stolen found it later on. Had misplaced it.
That's a big item to misplace.
And then there were 2 burglary to motor vehicle incidents.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On this motor vehicle crime pattern,
Yes, sir.
I know we have mapping programs that you've been using.
Yes, sir.
Any patterns that develop for something like this?
We did develop the pattern. One of the problems was, and we've been talking about that, is some of the vehicles that were stolen locally, and even the ones stolen in other jurisdictions, were stolen as a result of cars being unlocked and keys being left in the car. One of our victims had her purse, all of her credit cards, and cash in the car, and within 40 minutes of them taking the purse in the car, they were using the credit card. So that was one big key. We think there were actually 2 patterns, because one of the vehicles that was stolen was recovered by ICE, one of the federal agencies, and there was an attempt to ship that vehicle to Lithuania. So we're pretty sure that was a professional group there. And then the second was a group of young lads from the southeast side of Chicago. And so when we became aware of that, we began immediately collaborating with Chicago PD, our local battle task force, and our neighboring jurisdictions. That resulted in the Lockport police. I shouldn't say that collaboration resulted, but ultimately the Lockport police were led on a high-speed chase by a 15 and a 17-year-old, both from the southeast side of Chicago, who were later arrested. There is one other subject potentially at large, and we have not had an incident since their arrest.
Now what you just said brings up another question for me, and I see it in the summer more, but I see it more in the winter. People actually leaving their cars running when they're going into the grocery store or into any other store. I mean, is there any? I mean, they're not breaking any laws by leaving their cars running, right? I mean,
not any statutory laws, but it's just probably the worst thing you can do, because what you've done is you've provided an invitation. You go inside of a gas station, leaving the car unlocked and running, and you've basically given an invitation. I mean, we'd like to live in a society where we didn't have to worry about that, but unfortunately we do. And I think one of the things that's even a little scarier about this, the second group from Chicago, is that we think that they've been taking cars and then holding on to them to use in crimes later on, because one of our vehicles was recovered after being used in found to have been used in a robbery, an armed robbery. So that's not an uncommon, that's a gang tactic that's used in the inner city. where cars will be taken to for either robberies or drive-bys, and so there's no connection to it. So that's probably what makes it scarier. So we have photos of the people that we believe to be perpetrators, and we've distributed them to our officers. So if we put a stop on them or come in contact with them, we know who they are, and they don't operate with impunity. So.
You said that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Alderman McIver.
I had a question on the cars. Is there a specific, are they, the ones being stolen, is it random, or is there luxury vehicles, or?
We've had a couple of luxury vehicles. There was a Range Rover and a Lexus, but it goes across the board. Part of the key here, again, is with the burglaries to the motor vehicle. We had one burglary to the motor vehicle where there were two cars parked in the driveway, and they broke into one car. Well, they opened one car. It was unlocked, and once they got inside, they found the keys to the other car, so they wind up taking the other car. So I mean, the critical thing here, if we can convey anything to residents, is to lock your cars, don't leave your keys, don't leave your purses, don't leave anything of relative value where it can be seen, but definitely don't leave your cars unlocked and don't leave your car keys inside. We also have had a second burglary pattern, crime pattern related to residential burglaries, primarily in the Thistlewood area. We sent out something on Friday on that. There was some sense of urgency on that. That does not excuse the lack of accuracy, but there was a sense of urgency because these burglaries were predominantly occurring on Mondays during the day when people are traditionally at work, and so we wanted to get the citizens made aware of it, but we also wanted to provide our officers with the opportunity to interdict and catch somebody. Interestingly, Burr Ridge made a arrest in the two burglaries as well, but we're not sure whether they're related. They lawyered up, so it prohibited our detectives from going over to be able to interview them. We will be provided pictures to see if anybody can identify the individuals that they arrested. It may not be connected, but we're just following up leads in that direction. We look, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the offense and incident report statistics for both months. When you look at a figure, a bottom figure, you look at your total, and then you look at an increase of, plus 6.4% overall. Is there a standard that you use that you look at and say, once we go above this, we're concerned about what's going on, or do you still look at the individual categories more than just the total?
I look at the individual categories, but I also look at the total because ultimately, to answer your first question, no, there is not a cutoff or a barometer that would say, well, this is too many. One over is too many. So our goal is to go down. The true measure of effectiveness for a police department is zero crime, not 1,000 arrests. And so ultimately, the goal is to have zeros. And so if we have one, it's one too many. But we have to look at categories as well because one of the things we have is we have a slight increase in batteries. Some of those are domestic-related batteries. Some of them come as a result of changing the classification on crimes at Hinsdale South. If two kids got in a fight last year, it would have been a disorderly conduct. This year, it's a battery. So we may have a slight increase based on that.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Seifert.
I have a question just because we came to the offense and incident report statistics. And I'm sure you've gone over this before, but could you maybe explain a little bit the relationship between the offense and incident report and the events created or key statistics?
The offenses are incidents that actually occurred, something where we actually drafted a case report. There was an offender. Whether we caught him or not, there was, in fact, an offender. The calls for service are incidents where we were called to the scene, and it may ultimately not have been what was said. Maybe it's a suspicious person, or maybe it's a burglary. It turns out to be a suspicious person. Or maybe it's the cleaning lady who was there. It turns out to be it was called in as a burglary, but it's a cleaning person that somebody didn't recognize. And so that's the correlation there. So ultimately, many of those forms are more for internal, but what we've done is tried to provide the council with as much information about what we do as possible. A good deal of it is internal, though.
So certainly we would expect the events created to be higher than the incident reports.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Part of the reason for that is the incidents created is a portion of those I think it was 504, I'm not looking at the figures right, 504 of the incidents created are 911 calls. The balance of those incidents are self-generated by the officers or directed by the supervisors to take action on specific items. So those that are not 911 calls are self-generated. So we would always have more self-generated incident numbers created than we would actual incidents.
Okay, and then one last question on these charts, and I'm not trying to generalize anything, but I'm wondering if is there basically a percentage that you would expect to see in arrests from number of incidents reports in any given category? So take, for example, domestic violence, year-to-date total, this is the 8th period, we had 112. And then under domestic battery, then you had year-to-date 18 arrests.
To answer your question is, yeah, we do look for a correlation between incidents and arrest. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Burglaries, garage burglaries, we rarely make an arrest, and that's a nationwide statistic. You rarely make an arrest in a garage burglary. They're innocuous. I would expect that we would begin making arrests as we recover forensic evidence and fingerprints, DNA, and what have you. It may not be an immediate arrest, and oftentimes what the goal is to look down the road and see if we can make an arrest before the statute of limitations runs out. And so as we approach goal setting, one of the things that we're looking at, and I've talked to Greg, our detective coordinator, about is whether or not the new DNA, there's a new portable DNA technology that we can buy, and whether it would be beneficial to, if nothing else, a preliminary or confirmatory test for DNA that could steer us in the right direction. But Greg is going to have to do some work to find out whether it's admissible in court and things like that. But those are the kind of technological advances we're going to be talking about during goal setting.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Chief. You have more?
I have just a couple more
Okay.
points. I won't keep us too long here. We're still fielding calls about the various internet and telephone scams, and I can't tell you, the bad guys are as creative as they can possibly be, like authors in a fairy tale magazine. We have one of your kids under arrest. You need to send money now. This is the IRS. We're going to impound your house. You're under investigation and under surveillance. Just a whole litany of them. And the best advice that we can give is don't supply any personal information to anybody over the phone that you haven't called first. And when you get these calls, hang up and call 911, because what they prey on is their ability to peddle fear or urgency in situations that truly are not urgent. So next, I'd like to talk. We're as we have been for the past 3 years, we're in the midst of a paradigm shift on how we do business. And one of the things that I've asked our officers not to do as part of our policy is about gifts. And so oftentimes our officers will do something good and folks want to come and buy us lunch and buy us dinner. I'm asking the citizens a thank you note, a thank you card, or something that we can put in the officer's personnel file is a lot more rewarding and doesn't have any potential to compromise an officer's integrity. We kind of lead by example. None of us, when we go to various events and functions, none of the command staff accepts any food. If we're offered food and what have you, we just decline it. And so I would ask the residents not to give out anything. On another note, a vehicle in a state of disrepair that's unserviceable, even on private property, is eligible to be towed and cited. So if you have a vehicle or know of people who have a vehicle in that condition, admonish them that they should make it drivable or either call the police if they refuse, and we'll ticket it.
Is that, okay, that is part of our ordinance?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
it can be towed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I don't think we've ever taken that step before. So that would be, we usually give the resident notification that they have to get the car
We would
moving.
continue to give the notification first. I mean, we wouldn't, it's not a heavy-handed situation where we'd automatically roll up with a tow truck and start taking a car, but we'd give ample notification and give the person an opportunity to do something different. So
Okay, thank you.
we've created a new policy change in terms of how we deal with animals that are recovered. Right now, when an animal is recovered, or in the past, when an animal was recovered and the actual owner showed up to claim the animal, then the city of Darien was billed and we paid the vet bill for that animal anyway. So what we've done now is I've reached out to the Burridge Vet Clinic who does that for us, who holds the animals for us, and now when that animal is recovered by the owner or reclaimed by the owner, they bill the owner and we will no longer get those bills. That doesn't comprise a huge portion of that portion of our budget, but I think it comes to maybe 20 circumstances a year, or 20 or 30 a year where that happens, but we're not going to assume that expense. We'll still be issuing the citation, and the resident will be responsible for the citation, but any vet bills associated with the recovery of the animal will be the responsibility of the animal's owner.
So in the past, we were picking up that?
Yes, ma'am.
So oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So in that case, would the city pay for it and just seek the reimbursement?
No,
No,
they're gonna
no,
bill
we're not
for-
going to, we're not,
Right away.
we're out of that business, because ultimately, and from my frame of reference, and certainly I can be challenged on that, but from my frame of reference, the owner has been irresponsible to allow their dog to be running loose on the street in the first place. We've expended man-hours to recover the dog. We're going to expend man-hours to issue a citation. We've expended man-hours to take that dog to a different location. Now, it should be at some point, it should be the citizens' responsibility to reclaim their animal at their expense and not have the city of Darien pay for that.
So, is that what happens? The dog gets picked up and gets dropped off at the Burridge Vet?
Yes. And then if the dog, there are certain cases where the dog is not reclaimed, and if the dog's not reclaimed, then it's kept for the statutory time period, and then it's euthanized if nobody claims it.
What's the statutory time period?
I think it's 10 days.
That's not long at all.
What's that? Well, Alderman Belke, you're welcome to adopt any of those animals that,
Well, you know, I mean, we do have you said don't we get like 20, 30 a year?
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't know if it's worth mentioning in the weekly connect that there's, I don't know, 3 dogs or whatever,
How do
4
they
cats. You don't have to give
communicate
the details, but, if you're missing a pet, or remind them at least.
Well, 2 are mine at least, so.
what did you just say?
2 are mine at least a year. Well, we have the electric fence and the batteries run out, and then
Oh, that's,
and
okay,
then the
yeah.
dogs.
I didn't realize that those batteries can run out.
they don't last very long at all.
Okay,
So.
okay.
Finally, the crime stats tracked, pages 5 and for the 9th period. We had 4 more incidents that we tracked for 51 as opposed to 47. Now, one of the reasons why we missed a couple of those incidents is because they were the way that we prioritize or categorize crime. We use the incident-based reporting system as opposed to the UCR exclusively. And one of the incidents was actually a battery to the senior citizen, but it should have been reported as a burglary. And so we missed it based on that. And so that's, we're working out the bugs on that now, so that doesn't happen again. I think Alderman Kinney called once. We had missed one before. And it was the same circumstance. I think that we missed it because it was properly categorized, but using the IBR as opposed to the UCR. Burglary reflects an increase of 2 incidents compared to last year, but a decrease overall of 8 fewer burglaries this year compared to year to date. Criminal damage is essentially flat. Disorderly conduct, battery, and burglary to the motor vehicle account for the largest increases, and the portion of the increase caused by the burglary to the motor vehicle is the result of the 14 incidents we've experienced in the last 45 days. We believe we've nipped that in the bud. We're looking at some accountability metrics now that I'm working on, and then basically it's to show the sergeants how to make the officers more accountable when we do directed patrol. It's redefining our understanding of how much time should be spent on directed patrol. We continue to monitor the officer time spent on 911 calls and the use of their discretionary time. We've added to that another calculation of unallocated time. So that's total time available during a shift period, the 28-day shift period for the officers, subtracting the hours spent on 911 calls, subtracting the hours spent on discretionary time spent, and the balance of that is listed as unallocated time. And so that's the time that we can really, that and discretionary time are the times that we can really afford to manage and we should be managing. And so if there are no more questions, that'll bring my summary to a close.
Alderman Belke.
I have a question. This one is particularly on the 8th period, although I guess it doesn't really matter. For the officer statistics,
Yes, ma'am.
there's, I mean, I understand the self-initiated column and what that means. However, when you look at, the first shift, mid-shift, Officer Zimney has way, so many more self-initiated than the others. And I'm just wondering how those statistics get so vastly different. Is it the beat he's on, or?
Well, it's a she.
She,
Officer Zimney is probably one of the more aggressive officers in identifying self-generated activity. She has embraced the philosophy of how we document our activity, and so whatever she does, she documents. But she's actually one of the more aggressive officers. I don't know if you guys remember the cop on the roof for Dunkin' Donuts. Officer Zimney is the catalyst behind that every year. So she's one of our more aggressive officers. She's just a good officer all the way around. Never complains about anything, always does her job, and so she's one of the good ones. You can, and when I say that, I know I'm going to hear about this again. That's not to say anybody's not a good officer, but I think you have to recognize when people go above and beyond, and when somebody is generating that kind of activity, they're at least conscientious about what they're doing. And when you link that to her other behaviors, that she always looks decent in her uniform, and the other things she does. And we have quite a few officers like that. One of the ways that we came to, we've standardized our specialty selection process, where if an officer is being assigned to a specialty task, we've standardized that. So we use the same criteria for every specialty assignment that we're searching for. So we look at the number of 911 calls handled, the number of reports generated, the number of self-generated activity. And so anybody who applies, that's what we're looking for as we start to look at it. And then we get input from the sergeants and things like that. And so that was the way the selection process went for the 3 officers who are being interviewed for school resource officers. So those officers are Officers Yo, Malazzo, and Study. And so that was the basis. Those were the highest 3 officers of the officers who applied.
Chief, and a furtherance to Alderman Belke's question, when you look at the statistics, though, there are some things that happen on a month-to-month where an officer maybe work less shifts, maybe on training. Is that accurate on those numbers?
Yeah,
so I mean, you can look at the numbers, but there certainly is more analysis that goes.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
It's just not the numbers, because an officer on midnights will generally not generate the kind of self-generated activity or create the kind of self-generated activity an officer on the day shift might. And if the day shift is busy, then the officer on day shift won't have as much self-generated, because oftentimes the activity on days is very complex. You have a traffic crash that involves 4 cars with injuries. That's a protracted period of time. If you have rainy weather and there's 3 of those during the 28-day shift, that officer is going and that officer winds up handling each of those. That officer's activity may be a little bit depressed So we really look at everything on an average. What we averaged for the school resource officer's position is 3 years worth of activity for each of the officers. So it's not, the calculation or the assumption is that during the 3-year period, each officer will have rotated around the clock sufficiently to balance that out, so there won't be any undue favor given to anybody else.
So like a training officer, like Officer Lorick, for example, who's a training officer, he may only have 3 self-initiated incidents. That's because he's got another officer with him.
Well, it may be because he has another officer with him, but Officer Lorick is also a SWAT officer and a range officer. So it may be that he was tied up not only in training for himself, but he was training for somebody else. So those are all the factors that you have to consider as well.
Well, Chief, what I've seen with those reports it really is useful, though, for the sergeants in managing the shifts. They
Yes.
really, again, could dive into the information and find out sometimes is exactly what you said, or find out sometimes there's other reasons that, somebody's stats are off that month.
Exactly.
So it's really been, I'm sure, a helpful tool for the department.
And we're even moving more towards accountability now, because as we look at say circumstances like these, the vehicle thefts, I can go in and identify where officers spent their directed time, what addresses they were actually at, and how much time they spent. Well, if I'm trying to interdict an auto theft pattern, and I show 4 minutes in Thistlewood over a 3-day period, that's not long enough to interdict that. So I need to have the sergeant take a look at this and direct his troops to do more, to spend more time on directed patrol in the Thistlewood area if that's where the problem is.
Any other questions for Chief?
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Madam
Chief.
Mayor.
Any other questions for Dan, Paul, Greg, Alderman Seifert?
Mr. Gombeck,
Yes, sir.
any updates on No Name Gas Station?
Not at this time. I know that they're still working on some negotiations being on the closing and potential demolition up and coming. So other than that, I have no new information as they're doing their due diligence.
Okay. And then one other thing about the 75th reconstruction. You know, I drove through there this weekend. It seemed like on Saturday they had pretty much every person possible out there working. And they had one flagger. They were stripping the road, running 2 bobcats and a street sweeper. And I got to tell you, it really wasn't a safe intersection to drive through because they were just moving, and closing streets haphazardly with one flagger.
Yeah, I think that was due to Plainfield
Plainfield,
Road.
right.
Right. And what that was part was they're going to be resurfacing Plainfield Road from McDonald's up to a little bit past the No Name gas station, basically. So Saturday, we weren't aware of this, but Saturday is when they decided to come out and grind. They ground everything. They did get it done fairly quick. Again, I was not aware of the haphazard traffic situation or the flaggers, but I'll make sure we do mention that to them at the up-and-coming construction meeting this Thursday.
I mean, they were directing cars to drive between the bobcats that were following the stripper, making left turns on the Plainfield or what have you. And these bobcats they were going at a brisk pace.
Yeah, and while it's not uncommon, and everyone is frustrated with how many lanes are closed, so I know they did it early Saturday morning. I happened to be out and about, so I will mention that to them, that safety is important and they need to be cognizant of that for our residents and the motorists.
Any, Alderman Belke?
The 75th redevelopment area, I noticed there's a new hole on the south end of the Plainfield. Is that for the sign?
When you say new hole
Yeah,
on the
big
corner.
circle dug in.
Oh, that's the footing for the
That's-
Is that
tower.
the footing for
Yeah,
the?
there's a couple different holes. 3 piers, basically with tubes around them. Are those the ones you're referring
Yeah,
to?
it looked like,
Yeah,
yeah.
those are the piers for the legs of the
Clock tower.
clock tower,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
And the final foundation, that's how high, that's the top of foundation or top of grade. So stone has to be placed in there. And the schedule is, the last pier was supposed to have been poured already last Thursday due to some concrete shortages. It's finally getting poured tomorrow. In conjunction with that, the Chase sign is going to be located immediately west of the driveway. There's another big hole there for the foundation
okay.
there. So does that answer your question?
Mhm.
So they didn't give it all on moving the sign anywhere else, the Chase sign.
They relocated, yes.
So
from
it's
the
further
corner,
west?
Just east.
It's right
further
next to
east.
the driveway.
So the first drive-through.
Correct. It's west of the drive off of Plainfield Road, but it's east from its previous location on the corner.
Yeah,
Actually, you could see where the pipes are coming up out of the ground, that's where the sign's
yeah,
going.
it did move. They moved it from the corner, from the apex, right there at the corner of Cass and Plainfield Road. And they moved it right next to the driveway that comes in on Plainfield Road, east of the intersection.
Correct.
Yeah, and the second sign, and they haven't asked for a permit on the second sign yet.
No, they haven't.
But that's going to be moved closer. It's going to be more of a sign that is almost a directional sign for the driveway that goes in, the first driveway north of Plainfield and Cass.
Correct.
That's where if they actually do put it in, that's where the second sign will be.
Right, and it's still unknown.
Yeah, we're hoping that it gets smaller or goes away altogether, but, well,
I'm sorry, one more thing. Has the color been finalized for the tower?
Yes, I don't have the colors with me.
But
It's
it was
two
the
of
reddish, the red wood?
I believe it was the red along with the beige, I want to say it is. There was 3 colors. We're not using the one I referred to as Administrator Vanna picking, so we're going to go with the
Big surprise.
other colors.
In other words, he got shot down and. you know,
Good, I
yeah.
did not even want to
Thank you,
participate
Mayor.
in the survey. That's not my forte,
Dan,
colors.
they won't start fabricating the tower until, the clock tower, till they can come out and measure properly between those piers, correct?
Actually, we felt confident enough with the two. The shop is currently working on the,
Oh, they are.
yes, on the structure itself due to timing. So we're gonna confirm everything tomorrow with the bolt patterns. So if there's any changes, we still have enough time to make any changes that were critical.
Do we have any idea of when he's gonna be doing his new parking lot? Because that presents another eyesore, all that.
And I'm sorry, whose parking lot?
But he's putting on a new parking lot in front of the Colonial Manor.
Yes, they're working on it as we speak. The curbs and gutter went in today. We're anticipating it's gonna be asphalt within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Alderman MacGyver?
For Paul, we talked about this before the meeting started, the ComEd work that's going on. Specifically, I know there's work in Farmingdale Village, on the southwest part of town. That's for the ComEd Smart Grid. That's at least what the signs say. But if utility workers come knocking at your door and you're not, I guess this is for the residents, just to confirm that if they're not comfortable with answering the door just because there's been some ruse utility workers coming around, what should they do, Paul?
If they're not comfortable, they should definitely call 911 immediately.
Okay.
We have reached out to our ComEd person, and I'm waiting to hear back from her if they have people working in that neighborhood, and if they could get some information out to them and let them know that directly from ComEd.
Okay. And if we get information in time for this week's Direct Connect, can we add that information in there, Brian?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Anything else for any of the department heads? Then let's move on to the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening, I'm requesting approval of warrant number 141511 in the amount of $774,793.55 from the listed funds, and two pay periods, October 2nd and October 16th, in the amount of $494,954.85, for a total to be approved of $1,269,748.40.
Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderman Kenny. Discussion. On the roll, please.
Shower.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Belkey.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Marquez.
Aye.
MacIver.
Aye.
Seifert.
Aye.
7 ayes.
That warrant has been approved. The monthly report, treasurer?
Monthly report for the period ended September 30th reflects general fund year-to-date revenue of $6,809,553, expenditures of $5,078,862, for a current balance of $3,080,881. Water fund year-to-date revenue $2,239,887, expenditures of $2,214,080, for a current balance of $1,045,139. Motor fuel tax fund year-to-date revenue $427,990, expenditures of $149,030, current balance $431,416. Water depreciation fund year-to-date revenue $1,367, expenditures of $28,351, current balance $279,450. Capital improvement fund year-to-date revenue $4,002,980, expenditures $2,580,838, current balance $6,651,071. Capital projects debt service fund year-to-date revenue $471,555, expenditures of $36,750, for a current balance of $448,218.
Any questions on the report from, for the treasurer? And let's move on to standing committee reports. Alderman MacIver?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At this evening's Police Committee meeting, we approved the minutes of August 18th, 2014. Administrator Vanna has those minutes. And the next meeting of the Police Committee is scheduled for November 17th, 2014 at 6 p.m. in the Police Training Room, pending agenda items.
Alderman Marquez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a reminder that the next Municipal Services Committee meeting will be at 6:30 next Monday, October 27th, here in the council chambers.
Alderman Shower?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our next admin finance meeting will be held on Monday, November 3rd, 2014 at 6 p.m. in our upstairs meeting room.
Treasurer Corn, I think you had something?
And yes, the Police Pension Fund meeting was originally scheduled for next Wednesday, October 29th, but due to a scheduling conflict with a couple of the board members, it's been rescheduled for November 19th at 7 p.m. in the police training room.
Thank you. Let's move to questions, comments, agenda related. I think we do not have a long agenda this evening, so I think we addressed any questions from the council. And I can see that we have no audience, so I think we can move right on to old business, and there being no old business, I will mention the 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. The first item is a motion to grant a waiver of the raffle license bond requirement for the Darien Lions Club. The next item is approval of our tax levy determination for the general and special purposes funds for fiscal year 2014-2015. And then the third, God bless you. The third motion is to approve a transfer from the general fund to the capital projects funds of an amount of $445,437. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Seifert, seconded by Alderman Shower. The roll, please.
Seifert.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
McIver.
Aye.
Marquez.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Belkey.
Aye.
7 ayes.
All items have been approved. There is no new business on our agenda this evening, so let's move right to questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Do any of the aldermen have an announcement? She is. That's why I just snickered, because I saw her get her hands ready.
Been
So,
doodling over here for half an
Should
hour.
I look the other way to?
Look at this side, we'll do it on this side.
Okay.
You'll miss me when I'm gone, that's all I can say.
Isn't that a song?
Okay, if there, no announcements, okay, I don't want to leave anybody out here. Okay, then I will take a motion to adjourn. Alderman McIver, seconded by Alderman Belkey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
She loves doing that. We will miss you, though. We will.
Short meeting.